What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to talk about something that I have invested a lot of time in, and it's a pretty big deal for me. Over the last 2 years, I've been in a program called The Real World, and it's basically a school to escape the matrix, and the founder is Andrew Tate. Now, I understand how controversial a name like that can be for some people because um, this isn't a hit piece on Andrew. I do have a lot of appreciation for what he has built, but there are some very dark and not so great sides of all that I'm about to tell you. Now, the real world is basically a school to learn online money making skills. And while I really do like a lot of the things inside that program, I think it's more connected to the psychology and mindset that is both good and bad. And after 2 years of doing that, I have a lot to tell. Now, like I said before, this isn't a hit piece on Andrew Tate. I am not here to criticize him. I'm not here to applaud him either. I think that it's unfair to put somebody on a pedestal, both good or in a bad nature, because you'll never truly know all the facts about someone's life. And you just don't know. You really don't know what the truth is. Um, I understand the connotation that he gives overall, in a sense of the arrogance, the flaunting the money and the cars and the cigars and the jets. And to certain people, that is appealing because it shows a lifestyle, it shows luxury, and it's undeniably true because you can't fake certain things like iconic Bugatti, for example. You can't fake that. That is social proof. That is what gives credit that you know for sure it can't be a rental or anything like that. Um, Now, the intended audience is young men, and I see why. I see how it can be a force for good, but also can be tainted in some ways. And I think my younger self would have been more susceptible to certain manipulations and to some extent poison, to some very, very small extent. Now, I don't take using words like that very lightly, but what I'm about to share with you maybe might change your mind. I had done a lot of different campuses inside the real world. Basically, it teaches you to run online businesses like social media, crypto investing, e-commerce, copywriting. There's a multitude of skills, and I think the information itself is really good. I've never seen it taught in all one place as well as they have, and that's really truly why I stuck around for 2 years. But it's not so much about the information as it's more about the messaging behind the intention of it all. Um, I think that there are very positive things about it, but there are some things that started to turn me off. Um, I started as a copywriter and then I did e-commerce for a little bit and I kind of flip-flopped around. That was one mistake that I kind of learned. Sticking to one thing is super important when it comes to really anything in life. You don't ever become a master unless you stick to the same skill, essentially. I think they had the right idea, but I think there are certain psychological and subconscious aspects that keep people going, and I don't think it's the best thing. It's so funny to me because just 2 months ago, I was so gung ho about it, I was so hardcore focused, and then something happened. Something shifted, and I was like, why can't I get back on this horse? Why can't I concentrate on this anymore? Where did the drive go? What happened? It's not just because I got lazy suddenly. And it really wasn't that. So basically, I was focused on crypto trading for a long time. And I think crypto in and of itself is a very profitable system if you have the discipline. But the thing about trading is it teaches you to kind of delete emotion inside of you, because you don't want to feel greed, but you also don't want to be scared too easily by the market, because it dips and then people get scared and they sell, and then it pumps and then people get greedy. So it's dealing with those emotions. But when I tell you, you lose emotion, you really lose emotion. And I was focused on that for the longest time. I saw the track, I saw the path, and then there was what they refer to as an emergency meeting, which is basically a podcast by Tristan and Andrew, the two brothers, and it was kind of like a hard sell. So they were saying that the real world was expanding, and they had all this extra funding, and it's like hype people up, get people like in a frenzy to like get involved. So they wanted like security guards for events. They wanted people, ambassadors to organize events. They wanted to open up the campus for social media. And specifically, this is an invite-only campus called Affiliate Marketing. And that is the campus where all the Andrew Tate content is coming from. Now, this is important because inside this campus, this was almost like a closed door. It was almost like reaching a certain status and unlocking a certain component that you don't just get into right off the jump. And after starting to like really deep dive and listen and examine the content from a different perspective, it started to irritate me. It started to bother me. It started to like not resonate with me. And it was like grinding my gears in some way of like the arrogance. And it's not even that, it's really just like misalignment. It started to, I don't know, just didn't resonate with me like it used to, because I was the biggest fan. I truly was the biggest fan. I consumed all the podcasts. It was beyond just the Instagram videos, TikTok videos. I saw it as a path. Like some have said that this is almost like a religion. I think that's a little bit extreme, but that's just me. I mean, maybe. It's almost like a movement. I would even dare to say a cult. And this is what kind of started to make me turned off by the cultish like traits that I was starting to identify about it. It's deep, so buckle up. So going back to why I got off the horse, why did I quit? I started to consider changing tracks, and so much of the real world talks about not quitting, not giving up, not staying consistent. And I think that is one of the strongest traits about the real world. I think young men need to learn consistency and learn how to keep commitments to yourself. However, that can go to an extreme. It can have some negative connotation to it, almost maddening to some extent, because you're so concerned about keeping your commitments and setting high goals that it becomes imbalanced. And I used to think, well, you need imbalance to tip the scales. Yes, but you can easily burn out pretty quick. And I did kind of hit some walls eventually of just going way too hard, just going super hard on it, working as much as I possibly can, never taking any breaks. And that's kind of the messaging that primarily I disagree with. It's almost like this hustle culture. You gotta, push as hard as you possibly can, no breaks. Don't take any time off. Don't play video games. And it was almost like counterproductive after a certain point. And it's not just me. I mean, maybe I took it to an extreme, but I don't think I'm the only one that probably feels this. I think that there's so much focus on like it's player versus player, and you're gonna lose if you don't keep fighting. And the hardest working person wins. It's it, it's almost like an echo chamber. It feels like people are kind of saying the same crap all the time, and there's this promise of unlocking more as you progress into it, but it kind of just felt like the same crap. Like unlocking statuses, because they gamify it. They make ranks, and I think it's cool. I thought it was cool for a while, but I realized that there's not much difference between being in the gold chat versus being in the emerald chat versus being in the diamond chat. Like they kind of all say the same crap. And what I realized is when you show any kind of weakness or doubt, it actually kind of has a tendency of getting beat out of you. I thought that was interesting, because I don't think life has to be so harsh and cut and dry and black and white all the time. I think there is gray area, and I understand the psychology. It's the whole shoot for the moon to hit an asteroid sort of thing, where you don't think that people are going to actually hit the goals that you are setting, but if you shoot far enough, you'll get exceptionally further than the average person that only aims short and they're short-sighted. So I get the logic, but there's just some unrealistic things. Like, a perfect example is Andrew saying, like, I drink 10 cups of coffee per day. Yeah, all right, bro. I don't see a coffee cup in your hands every second. I see you a lot. Where's the coffee cups? I don't know. And you're going to the bathroom all day? Like, it's just unrealistic. I just don't think, and as a result, when I say, hey, I drink 10 cups of coffee, and people listen to me, they're going to try to emulate that. And so what happens is you might drink 4 cups of coffee when you only drank 1 usually. That's the concept that I'm talking about. And it's good, but it can be abused, I think. So that's a big aspect that they focus on. The reality is that it does work. It is a proven path. It is a successful path. There's just a price tag to it. And sometimes that price is pretty dear. And you have to ask yourself, how important is driving a Ferrari? How important is becoming rich? What are you willing to sacrifice to do it? I mean, just look at celebrities. You know how they talk about selling your soul? Yeah, there's no joke about, like, Justin Bieber getting P. Diddy'd. Like, that's not a joke. Sounds funny, but it's not a joke. I mean, he really did pay a price to be the level of fame that he was at. And the same is true for success. You pay a price for losing weight. You pay a price. You don't eat the foods, and that's how it works. And, some people might sit on the internet and say, oh, I joined Andrew Tate's course for 60 days, and this was my results. I'm not going to hold as much validity to a person like that, because that's not commitment. That's you just making a video. That's just you doing a little test, 30-day challenge type of bullshit. I don't buy that. I was in the program for 2 years, and here are my results. I made $6,291 in the social media campus. I made $700 in the copywriting campus. And the crypto trading campus was a loss, but that was the intention. It was to teach how to be a good loser. Basically, getting rid of the emotion of feeling the pain when you lose, but you just lose very low stakes. So we did what's called dollar trading. Yeah, I actually do believe in that. I do think it's a good method. Lose low stakes, so that way when you're ready to up the game, you're not making the same rookie mistakes like with high stakes. It makes sense. So I talked about the path and how it seems appealing when someone shows you the Bugatti and they're like, if you just listen to me and do as I tell you, then you can be rich too. That seems appealing, but the problem with that is when you travel the path that everybody else is on, the reward is very low. And I'm not just talking about Andrew Tate's course. I'm talking about the widespread, basic, common knowledge things to make money, We'll hear the baby boomers talk about real estate. We're not going to go into that right now. It's older information. Now, they'll claim that this is the current information and is good, but the reality is you're hearing the same information, you're going to do the same things that thousands of other people are also doing. And what happens is the same people probably get harassed by client outreach, like for copywriting, and probably the same people get harassed with e-commerce ads of the same products. It's the same sourcing. And I understand the appeal to the path is it's defined, it's proven. But the reality is, and this is the thing that I had to realize, is the common knowledge is you stay on the hiking trail, you don't get off the trail. It's very scary to get off the trail. Why is it scary? Because it's easy to get lost. And when you don't have a direction, it's easy to get lost because you get swallowed up by YouTube crap. You know, you get the crazy thumbnails like the, you know, with the green text on it. It's psychological, by the way. It's psychological. Those screenshots are fake. You don't know if that person's results are actually real. It could be photoshopped. You don't know. So you have to go in the sea of uncertainty and have to go fend for yourself again. So when somebody with a Bugatti says, oh, I have this path that worked, you're going to believe it. But one thing I've realized is it's about having an unfair advantage, and you have to use discretion and discernment to define your own path. And that is what I'm doing now. I've decided to forge my own trail, to blaze my own trail. And I care a lot about creativity. And that is why I'm announcing the Sandbox Project. Now, the Sandbox Project is set in New Mexico, where I live now. And it is to deal with creativity and overcoming the struggles of when you get stuck creatively, when you feel like you're in a dull environment or you have very dull tools at your disposal, like you don't feel like you have the things that you need to work or do what you want to do. That's not true. And that is the purpose of the series that I'm creating about overcoming those psychological problems. So ultimately, you have to know why and when you are allowed to break the rules. That's just it. And that only comes with experience. I am pushing 30 years old now, so I feel like I'm experienced enough in life. I've seen enough things. I've gotten scammed enough times. I've done this program and that program to make that call that maybe this is baloney, this is not, you know, or just make it yourself, like making this video right now. That's just the path that I've chosen. Now, where is it strong? Where does the real world shine? The real world shines in consistency. It has made me be super consistent and accountable for the stuff that I commit to doing. It is personal accountability. I really like that, and I think it is good for younger men. I do think that having other men put positive pressure on you is productive to a certain point. Perhaps I took it too far. Perhaps it was weighing on me too heavily. Maybe it might not work for me, but it might work for you. I'm not saying that it's a bad program. Now, there are some darknesses to it, and that's the main thing that reason why I'm saying that it is kind of cultish. It is cultish because it is manipulative. It uses terminology and wording to scare you and make you afraid to quit. There's a lot of focus on not quitting, which is productive, but it's also psychologically harmful. I believe that. I think there is a lot of subconscious programming in the videos that they create to where it programs you to feel bad and feel guilt if you give up and stop. And that's what I have felt in the past. It's almost like it's hard to escape. If you feel like you are trapped in a situation or you have a dependency on something, that is a good indicator that it might be a cult. And not falling subject to the manipulation. I know it seems hard, but I'm grateful that I was able to identify some of the things that I saw. I'm not saying it's pointing you to do something negative or bad. I think it's all good because the sell is, well, will it hurt you? Is it bad to get wealthy? Is it bad to lose weight? Is it bad to become strong? Well, no, but what is bad is when you attach it to self-worth. And when you think that you are nothing and you don't have any voice, or you don't matter if you're not successful, or you're not worthy of love because you can't buy a woman a handbag. I mean, that's silly. That's ridiculous. But I hate to say it, but that's kind of the messaging. It's just extremely materialistic, in my opinion. Value is not based on material. It's not based on your riches. Your value is based on emotional connection, your character, your ability to discern what you create. I mean, create. You don't have to be rich to create. And that was the discovery that I made. I was like, I started in film. I've always intended to do film. I don't know why I stopped. I just started chasing the money because it costs money. And I was like, well, if I try to get wealthy, then it enables me to do what I want. I have this quote, and I've always lived by this. It's the greatest risk of all is not doing what you want on the bet that you can buy yourself the freedom to do it later. And I think that if you wait all your life to do what you truly want to do, then you could have spent all that time getting experience. But you think that money will allow you to do what you want to do. And yes, to an extent, it does. It's an amplifier. It just makes you louder. It doesn't change who you are. It just amplifies who you are. It doesn't really fix the problem. It just kind of multiplies whatever exists. So if you're a bad person, you're going to be a super bad person. If you're a good person, you're going to be a super good person because you have the ability. It enables. But if you don't work at the core of what your mission is and what the reason you exist, then what have you got? I mean, what's the point of it all, really? Because everybody, I ask people, I call it the $1 million question. It's, if you had $1 million, what would you do with it? And I get the same response like 80% of the time. It's like, oh, I'd buy a house, or I'd go on vacation, I'd travel the world for, you know. And I'm like, no, that's not a purpose. That is a pleasure. And pleasure wears off. Pleasure does not last forever. You becomes desensitized to it eventually. It's not a purpose. And most people's purpose is work. But when you define what you would do if bills weren't an issue, I mean physically do. Not what are you spending your days thinking about. And I don't mean consuming entertainment. That gets old really easily. But if you created entertainment, that's different. Not everybody thinks this way. I get it. I totally do. I'm just trying to share my experience. And was doing it a mistake? Absolutely not. I stand by it. I stand by the things that I was taught. I stand by the advice that I was given from all people involved. And I don't think it was bad. But I think there are some negative things about it. Because it could be mostly good, but there's always a little bad. There's always a little somebody messing up with what is good. Can't eliminate it, unfortunately. It's always going to be present. You just have to know how to spot it. And you have to know. And the only way to know is your character and your discernment and paying attention. That's it. That's all. So my intention now is to start the Sandbox Project. It's just kind of like walking around in the desert and finding color and beauty in mundaneness and learning some lessons along the way. So we'll see how it evolves. But thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. If you find yourself strangely attracted, maybe check it out. If you're repulsed, you have good reason to. I can't even say everything. Not because I don't feel like I can, but, well, there's some shadiness to it. There's always something. There's always somebody. And I don't know if all the allegations about him are true or not. It seems far-fetched, but they are very good at spinning things, and I really can't say I wasn't there. I don't know, but yeah. So thank you for watching. I appreciate you guys, and catch me on the next episode.